please.
Okay, so Toronto has a harmonized bylaw, and yet there's 239 distinct communities, neighborhoods in Toronto, and this has already been alluded to. I think the A-frame sign really highlights what's wrong and the disconnect between small businesses and the city staff. Because in this district here, the city partnered with the BIA to do a streetscape study. They found that they should have small storefronts to preserve the historic nature of the community. So there's lots of small storefronts, and now 80% of the businesses in this district are disqualified from having an A-frame sign, and so they can't get an A-frame sign, and 40% or more of their revenues have been shown to come from direct traffic from those A-frame signs. To make it worse, I went through the process to try to apply for an A-frame sign online today. I had to submit schematics, 5 documents, photographs, and it's non-refundable fee of $200, and at no point did they tell me that if my storefront was under 20 feet, I would lose my $200. So there's a real disconnect, and I'd like to know what you're going to do to fix this.
Okay, very good question. We're starting with Rocco.
Well, I raised the issue of the signage in my opening comments, and it's part of the nickeling and diming that's happening, and it's part of a one-size-must-fit-all mentality because they have no understanding of customer service, have no understanding of focus on service levels, and want to simplify life for themselves. That shouldn't be the question. That shouldn't be the issue. It's not how do we simplify things for City Hall. It's how do we simplify things for the people interacting with City Hall. When you have that kind of revolution in people's thinking, you move away from crazy decisions like this. And I also pointed to the bylaw that then this one-size-fits-all, bringing us back to the Toronto of the 60s and not wanting to have patios when we only have a couple months of the year to take advantage of it, and neighborhoods themselves take advantage of those patios more than people coming into it.
Thank you very much, Rocco. Now we go to Rob Fort.
I feel so sorry for business people when they come begging to put up a sign at Community Council. Then we implemented a billboard tax. We're doing everything in our power to chase business out of the city of Toronto. We have the highest commercial tax rate, and people are saying, all I want to do is advertise to employ people, to create jobs. And I'm a business person, and council, it seems like I'm the only person to get up and goes to bat for the small business owners. I voted against this billboard tax, voted against this 5-cent bag tax. And when you go into a store, these people say, well, I have to charge you the 5-cent bag tax. This is ridiculous. We're handcuffing hardworking entrepreneurs out there that want to just get ahead and create jobs. We're doing everything in our power to chase them out of the city. And I guarantee when I'm mayor, that's not going to be the case. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Joe?
As I said earlier, this year for small storefronts, we gave a 3% tax decrease, to make it easier. I was the one who's been fighting for 29 years to make sure that cafes are allowed on our streets. Our bureaucrat says, no, there's not enough room for everybody there. And look what we have, and we changed the mindset. This is the latest battle that needs to be fought, where the bureaucracy says, you know what, the streets, there's not enough people for travel back and forth, this thing obstruct the sidewalk, how do we make it better? I think this was first cut. As you know, I've been working with the Queen West BIA to try to help sort it out, because it needs sorting out. This one-size-fits-all doesn't work, and the local councillor, I don't take full responsibility that everything happens at City Hall. However, that's a lesson to be learned. Like Mr. Smithman doesn't take full responsibility for the provinces having a $20 billion deficit, by the way. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I actually, I think maybe I will actually answer that question. Did you hear any answers here? Me either. Okay, so we're going to reduce that fee. We're going to get rid of that fee. Next, we're going to pre-zone these areas with the business associations so they can say, this is what we want in our areas. It's a simple fix, but we have to do that across the board in every single neighborhood in Toronto. So those are the sorts of things we have to do. And we can't have a bureaucrat setting the rules. We're the business owners. It's our city. It's time for us to set the rules.
Thank you, Sarah. George?
Well, I think that here we have an example of the deputy mayor when he wants to be, but not the deputy mayor when it matters. He's the junior architect of everything that went on at City Hall, and that means he's the junior architect of the harmonized zoning bylaw, which entrenches this one-size-fits-all solution, which we know ignores the very principle of Toronto as a city of neighborhoods. And so I want to ask Joe, Joe Pantalone to acknowledge publicly that he was a supporter of the harmonized zoning bylaw, and that in the circumstances of the Drake Hotel, as an example, a success story just down the way, that the Drake success wouldn't be possible with the harmonized zoning bylaw that the Joe Pantalone administration, along with David Miller, just passed. It's more and more and more a move towards this one-size-fits-all solution. I think we need to look at de-amalgamation, pushing back to community councils the right to make decision in certain areas rather than entrenching greater and greater and greater this one-size-fits-all approach.
Okay, now we got two rebuttals. We'll start with Sarah, then Joe, and the final rebuttal will go to Rocco.
I just want to point out, look at what the politicians are saying. You know, they're not giving you real answers. They're fighting amongst each other like they do it on city council.
Okay, Joe?
Well, you know, life is complicated. You know, and as you try to strive forward to improve life, you try things, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. The billboard tax was make sure we don't have these huge, ugly signs on top of buildings everywhere. Surely beauty has its value in our city, and this Gladstone Hotel, you know, the Zeidler family has run it. Guess who's been one of the strongest supporters of the Zeidler family in terms of the Trade Center, Eb Zeidler, or this over here. You know, I was a former councillor here. One of the reasons this place exists is because Joe Pantalone defends heritage along there. George,
Okay,
I wish
thank
you
you,
get your
Joe.
facts straight.
But not the drink.
George,
Okay.
you don't know what you're talking about after
Guys,
time. I'm sorry.
we're going to go to Rocco, and then we'll go to the next question. Rocco, please.
There's no question that that we have to have the input of the neighborhoods, but the language that Mr. Smitherman begins to use, and he started to using it, of de-amalgamation, is an incredibly dangerous, slippery slope that, quite frankly, is irresponsible to use, because we've gone through a lot of pain, and there's no question that amalgamation was only happened in theory and not in fact, but it's not helped, and we're certainly not going to move forward if you talk about de-amalgamation. One of the key things that I've just announced this week is to say that I would set up, in effect, a board of control that would include 4 deputy mayors that would be representative of the regions of Scarborough, of North York, of Etobicoke York, and Toronto East York, to form a panel with the mayor to help in the making of